Welcome, everybody, to Strangest Species, episode 42.
Your lucky number.
My lucky number.
Your lucky number.
I am your host, Mike Davis, here with your co-host, Ethne Davis.
Ethne Blinky Eye Davis.
That's true. Tonight, you
My
are
eye's
Ethne
bugging me today.
Blinky Eye Davis.
Yep. So if I'm super blinky, I'm sorry.
That's alrighty.
It's very blurry today.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, Ethne and I are both wearing pink today. That was not planned.
Nope, that wasn't planned. Although he always is wearing this pink hoodie. You guys, he loves this hoodie. I'm not always wearing this pink hoodie, but we had youth group tonight, and so I thought I'd wear my youth group hoodie. So we both looked at each other and thought, oh, we're both recording in pink.
But I'm wearing pink like
it's not even October.
half the week.
Like it's not even Save the Boobies month or anything.
Nope.
But you love pink. Yeah, he's in pink a lot.
And I think my sweatshirt might smell funny.
Well, luckily nobody can smell your sweatshirt through the podcast.
It was folded, and so I assumed it was clean, but maybe not. I might have folded it after I wore it some other time.
I don't think it smells funny.
That's good.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I would have told you if I thought it smelled. Sometimes our laundry runs, which I'm sure we're the only household that ever does this.
For sure.
It runs, and then it's kind of up to the person who started the load to like communicate that it needs to be switched, because otherwise many of us don't know. It's end up being in the load for like 2 days, and then it has that nasty smell. Well, sometimes a kid will find it, think that it was recently washed, not realize that it's been sitting there for 2 days, and just put it in the dryer. So the whole load then gets folded, and then you realize like,
It smells a little funny.
Smells funny. So I don't think you're in that situation though.
That's good.
Because it doesn't smell like, it doesn't have that smell to it. It just doesn't, I mean, it's fine.
Well, that's perfect.
All right. Well, about
I prefer when my clothes aren't smelly. So
stinky laundry and
what do you know?
laundry issues.
Our 7-year-old has a homework assignment to invent something.
Yeah. And his mom thought of this great idea to invent something using duct tape. So when I was
There, you can get all that duct tape out right there.
probably in high school. Oh, yeah.
Look
I
at all that duct
ordered
tape.
all this duct tape, colored duct tape, so that he could make patterns and stuff. But when I was in high school, I remember having now this was before the days of like colored duct tape, or maybe it was out there, but it wasn't very common or popular. I had a boyfriend who liked to make lots of things out of duct tape, like wallets and I don't even know, book covers, and
The 90s were so cool.
so cool. And so I thought to Oakland, like, oh, dude, we need to invent something out of duct tape. So anyway, his teacher kind of, I think, deflated his bubble, because we were going to make like a bag out of duct tape. And she kind of said, well, like a bag's already been invented
Many times over.
And so I was like, well, yeah, but he created, like, it's his own invention. Like, he created this duct tape with the patterns. I don't know. It's for like second grade. Like, I'm not going to spend, my whole weekend.
I am.
Yeah. My whole weekend. So I thought a bag with fun patterns. So I ordered this stuff, and he was kind of excited. And then I think she popped his excited bubble. And then tonight, Dad to the rescue here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're making the Wonka jacket. We're going to make a jacket out of duct tape.
That dispenses
with the built-in
candy.
hidden candy dispenser for that child who needs more candy, but his teacher won't let him have it.
The teacher doesn't know it's there.
It's going to have this hose with a valve running. It's going to have a little reservoir of candy inside with a valve that you can turn, and the hose is going to run to the outside, so it dispenses it right in your hand. So you can sit there like under your desk.
And I'm at a girls' weekend this weekend. So it's going to be basketball and inventions for these guys at home.
Heck yeah, it is.
And I'm going to be just with my sisters and my sister-in-law, my mom, and it's going to be great. It's the first time we've ever done this before.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah. So I won't be a part of the jacket invention, which makes me sad because
You'll see it.
Well, I'll
Maybe
see
we'll
it
share some candy with you afterwards.
because I'm dying for that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's going to be good.
it's going to be great.
Hey, what do you think we're going to talk about today?
Well, Flotsam and Jetsam.
Going Little Mermaid today,
Yep,
huh?
Little Mermaid. I don't know why, but
Or actual oceanography.
Are those real oceanographers?
Those are real terms, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where they got the names, I believe.
Oh, well, I thought Ursula just named them.
Well, she did name them.
Yeah, but I thought she just like made them up.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm pretty sure.
Well, you were wrong.
Oh, darn it.
But we have. Our last couple of weeks have been about water. Was it 2 weeks in a row? Last week was the sinking of the Alice. And the week before, it was abandoned on the island.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had some ships and some water involvement.
Yeah. Well, so I was also telling our son, like, oh, last episode was pretty sad. And he's all like, oh, what is it? I got to know. And I was like, no, you're just going to have to watch it.
Yeah.
So he gets all anxious about it.
He came up to me tonight. He's like, Mom told me last week's episode was really sad and lots of people died. I can't wait to listen to it.
Okay.
It's like, all right.
That's special.
Psycho.
No.
Morbid little man.
Yeah, he would rather ours be like a little bit more scary.
Yeah, he likes the scary
And I'm
ones.
like, nope, we're not doing that.
So, what do you think it's like living in Antarctica?
Cold.
Yeah. I mean, even colder than living in
Canada. Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Maybe not way up in Canada.
Yeah, it's
But
like
where you live in Canada.
where I live in Canada, much colder. Where other Canadians live, yeah, probably. I don't even know the difference, but
Yeah. So the wintertime down there, it's dark and you get, fairly common minus 60 Celsius.
I mean, I would imagine.
Which sounds about like Edmonton.
No, I would imagine though that like the northern hemispheres and the southern hemispheres with all the darkness, like how much daylight and are very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
Right? Like very little daylight in the winter. And so that's all
Like
the
none.
same. So, right. So then temperature wise though, actually between the North and the South Pole, I really don't know. I mean, is Antarctica colder?
I don't know if it's colder or not.
I don't either.
They're both into the realm of beyond miserably cold.
Yeah,
where
uninhabitable.
I'm not interested in knowing how cold they actually
I just
get.
didn't know, generally speaking, because there are only penguins in Antarctica. I don't believe
that. I don't know if that's true. Antarctica is the only place that has many penguins, but I think there's other animals, aren't there? Like
I don't think there's penguins up in the
in
northern.
Happy Feet, don't they? Oh no, yeah. There's no penguins in the northern hemisphere.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you were saying penguins were the only animals on Antarctica.
No,
Gotcha.
They
Yes, penguins are
only-
only native to
Antarctica
southern
or like the
hemisphere.
southern hemisphere, because I
Correct.
think there's
I
parts
think
of
there's
like
some on like Chile or Argentina.
whatever goes down really low.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think so. I don't know what that difference is. Like, why do they live there and not in the northern hemisphere? I mean, if it's all just cold.
Maybe they never got up there.
Well,
It's a long ways away.
But
Actually, as far away as you can get.
yeah, but that's true. It is.
And you'd have to cross a lot of warm tropicalness to get there. And then you might never go back because you'd realize, oh, the Bahamas are way nicer.
No, not if you're a penguin. That's the thing, is they're made for that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I've been to lots of zoos with lots of penguins in the heat. They seem pretty happy.
No, because they're in the coldness. They make their place cold and their water is cold. Obviously, it's not near as cold.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're probably not talking about penguins because this isn't a podcast about penguins. So we're
No.
probably talking about humans.
We are going to talk about humans who are not native to Antarctica. It's actually the only continent that does not have indigenous peoples.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which makes sense because it's very uninhabitable.
So it must be colder down there than in the north because there are indigenous peoples in the north.
Well, sure, but the North American continent stretches
That's
much
true.
further south
That's true. But I
than
still
Antarctica does north.
north. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's not. I don't know. I just was thinking maybe it's colder. Anyway,
I don't know. It's really cold.
either way.
So in 1959, 12 countries signed what is called the Antarctic Treaty,
Okay.
which bans any kind of military activity on Antarctica. So even though there's lots of rumors that Hitler had a secret World War II military base on Antarctica, actually, I guess he could have because it's 1959.
Well, and even then, I would assume someone maybe like Hitler wouldn't really care about a treaty.
That's probably true too.
I mean, maybe not.
But anyways, this is later. So there's no military down there.
Okay.
But there are currently about 70 research bases that operate either part of the year, all the year, doing different things. And they're studying lots of disciplines down there. Okay. They're studying the penguins. They're studying global warming. They're studying the environment. There's a lot of, I think they do a lot of boring into the ice down there because...
Not boring as in this is boring.
Well, it might be boring.
But like...
Yes, boring as in drilling a long hole.
Yeah, into the ice.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, but there are some interesting things about Antarctica. Technically, it is a desert.
I mean...
It's a frozen desert, but it is a desert.
Okay. Deserts are strictly defined on their amount of precipitation, correct? Yeah. So...
but water is at a premium.
Oh, for sure. Because otherwise it will be ice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of fresh water there.
Right.
This was one thing that I found very fascinating. There are essentially no smells in Antarctica.
Penguins are smelly.
This is true. Penguins are smelly.
So maybe they're only smelly at the zoo because it's too warm for them and they're like sweating BO and
Maybe.
that's their BO smell.
Yeah.
Because there's
got to be scientifically accurate.
Totally, because there is definitely a smell to the penguins.
Yeah.
Like every zoo I've ever been to.
There really are. I'm sure there's lots of things that smell in Antarctica, but because it's so vast and so barren, you don't run across many of these things. Most of the things you run across are ice and wind and depression. And so one guy in darkness, this is what he said. He said, when you're coming back on the plane from McMurdo, I don't know what that is, maybe one of the bases there, to New Zealand, about 3/4 of the way back, you start smelling plants. Your sense of smell is so desensitized that the smell of pollen in the air just washes over you. It's incredible.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I never would have thought about that.
I mean, I guess the scent of plants makes sense that that's not there.
But I wonder how much of our ambient, like
we don't
life
even
is-
realize
right.
it anymore. Huh.
I wake up in the morning and there's a billion birds chirping,
Yeah.
but I don't hear them unless I want to hear them.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same kind of smells.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like there's a million ponderosa pines where we live, and when it gets hot outside, they have a very distinct ponderosa pine smell. It doesn't smell like pine, like Christmas pine. It smells like ponderosa pine.
Yeah.
It's different. But when I want to smell it, it's easy to find.
Right.
But I don't really smell it unless I think about it.
I've never really thought about that before. Huh.
I know.
That's so cool.
I hadn't either.
Well, let's go to Antarctica.
Obviously, once you get there, you're completely on your own. Like you have to bring in any gear. You have to haul out any gear. You even have to carry out all of your human waste.
Why can't you just poop onto ice?
They're not allowed to poop on the ice.
Oh, because it's why?
I don't know. It's part of the... They don't want to mess up Antarctica.
Oh, because it's so vast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they haul in and out all of their waste.
That's a big job.
It's a big job. Maybe I don't want to go to Antarctica.
Just dig a ice hole.
I don't know if you can dig an ice hole.
Just chip
when
away.
It's minus 60.
That's true.
I'm not sure how your ice digging skills would handle
I
that.
actually can't imagine trying to go to the bathroom and squatting down in minus 60. I never really thought about this. It's like frozen butt cheeks.
You want to be inside.
Yeah, you have to
literally,
be.
you would.
Yeah, you have
You
to
would
be.
pee and it would turn to an icicle
As you're peeing.
as it's peeing.
Okay.
It would be
This is a whole
sounds
concept.
terrible.
Yeah, this does sound terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to go to Antarctica anymore.
I mean, it'd be cool to see it.
No, I'd love to go on one of those cruises.
There's a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like no.
Yeah, they cruise down in the summer months or the warm months. I don't know when that is exactly, but Anthony says no.
No.
Anyways,
Icebergs in the water means a sunken ship. Come on, people.
we have definitely, sometimes just a bunch of poop in the water means a sunken ship.
Well, that's not why it sunk.
No, but it didn't help any.
That's true.
So
Okay.
in 1960, right after this treaty was signed, the Soviets sent a mission of 13 men down to Antarctica to create a new base. This mission was called the Sixth Soviet Antarctic Expedition.
It's like a tongue twister.
It was. I
like-
struggled with that. I struggle with saying a lot of things, though.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Yes.
Say that again?
6th Soviet Antarctic expedition.
That's not that bad.
It's stuff for me.
It's
Got a speech impediment.
no. Okay.
So, like I said, the purpose of this team was to build a new base at the...
Like a new research base.
Mhm,
Okay.
at the Schirmacher Oasis. Obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, it's an oasis.
It's one of those mirages
Yeah.
where you think it's an oasis.
So this place was about 75 miles off the coast,
Okay.
inland. So they got there, they built their base. They'd been there for about 4 months. And at this point, it is January. It is the deepest part of winter.
So they have the same winter
I guess so.
as us? I don't know why I thought it would be opposite. Anyway.
Well, it's winter like half the year, so I don't really know.
Well, no, but like if it's their deepest,
I mean, you're right,
coldest part,
Australia's
that's the same
like
as
the opposite
ours.
as us.
Yeah, and Australia is the opposite. So I don't know why I just thought that. Anyway.
That would make sense. I don't know.
That's
But
okay.
so the team decides, I mean, they didn't decide right then. They decided beforehand that they would wait out the winter before coming back. And this happens a lot on these missions.
You would
like
stay there for
a
the
year or
whole
two.
winter?
Yeah, a lot of
Ugh.
these missions you're there for a long, long time. Because you can't fly planes in and out in the winter.
Yeah, but you have to bring that much food.
Yeah, totally.
And you're eating what?
Canned stuff, dehydrated stuff.
I feel like this is a mission for one of our children. This is their job. Yep. They need
Okay.
the challenge.
Perfect.
You know the one I'm thinking of?
Yes. The same one that is all things. So they're there. They're done with their mission, but they're stuck there until the following
Okay.
not super stupid cold season.
Do they have northern lights down there?
They do have southern lights down there.
I guess that makes more sense.
Yes, there are such thing as the southern
Like the
Borealis.
similar southern, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, similar appearances in the sky. Oh, I bet it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so on April 29th.
I'm sorry. Rewind.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine what you do for 4 months and you literally cannot go outside. Like you will die. What do? You just read 90 million books? Read the same 3 books you brought because you can only bring so much stuff in?
Maybe play cards. Clean. I don't know what you do.
Ugh. This sounds awful. Okay, keep going. I'm
Luckily,
sorry.
you don't have to do it.
Nope. I just keep thinking about that's a long time. So from January till April, what'd you
April
just say?
29th.
Whew. Yeah, that's a long time.
Every time I see April 29th, I think of the Sublime song. April 29th, 1992.
Yeah.
There was a riot on the streets. Tell me, where were you? I won't go any longer. I could probably do the whole song,
You
though.
could do the whole song.
So one of the crew members, there's 13 in this crew.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Leonid Rogozov.
Leonid
Rogozov.
Rogozov.
I don't have any idea what my Russian accent sounds like.
You
so
probably said that wrong.
I'm sure I did. But he starts to feel sick.
Okay.
Now, he's experiencing weakness, tiredness, nausea. In general, though, this isn't a good time to come down with something.
Well, it's a better time than if you did it in January because by the end of April, aren't you about able to start traveling and moving about again?
Well, they're not scheduled to be going home soon.
But if they needed
But they're
to
sooner than in January.
right, like if a plane needed to land, this is more getting to the appropriate time.
More, but still not. Still, no one can get to them.
Dang.
And remember, there's 75 miles or kilometers inland, so there's no boats either.
Right.
Like, it has to be a plane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, yes, it's better than January, I suppose, but
Still not great.
you're stuck at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you fall and break your leg, you can't get out of there.
Oof.
And so one of their 13 crew members is a physician. They have a physician with them. But the next morning, Leonid begins having intense pain in his lower right side. What do you think it is?
Appendix.
It's appendicitis.
Oh, dang.
So the doctor knows right
Bad
away
timing. Yeah.
it's appendicitis. And I mean, what do you do?
Well, I'm hoping the doctor has brought stuff to do to address issues.
I mean, sure, he's got stuff to address issues. I don't know if he's got stuff to perform surgeries with a crew of 13 where he's the only physician.
I don't know. This is my scared face.
That is a good scared face. So
I'm scared for this guy.
it is appendicitis. Now, I said one of the crew members is a general physician, and he even had began a surgical residency, but had left early
Because he wasn't very good.
to go on this trip to Antarctica.
Okay.
But in his time in his residency, he had performed a few appendectomies. So he was familiar with the surgery. But how are you going to do it without any surgical equipment in a remote base in Antarctica?
Oh, I mean, at least you have lots of coldness.
That's true. Maybe you go outside and do it?
Well, ice, I don't know, helps.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know if it helps in this situation.
It doesn't. I'm just trying to be optimistic for this poor guy. I feel like.
So,
Oof.
but the decision was pretty easy to make because it was either you do the surgery or Leonid's gonna die.
But he would die wouldn't he get
he would burst. He would go septic.
Right, he would go septic and that would be worse, right? But he also runs the risk of maybe dying from complications of the surgery.
Correct. So
would you try to reach out to a plane and say, hey, we're in a situation here that's tricky and we'll perform the surgery, but I need someone to come? Or it's just not a thing?
I'm sure they reached out, but Moscow actually, they had to get permission from Moscow to do the surgery.
Interesting.
But that was the best they were getting. I mean, there was no way
that they could.
And I read some other things. Like you can't, it's physically impossible to land planes during this time of year.
That's so interesting to me. Even nowadays or just back then?
No, even, I mean, maybe today, but even 20 years ago, no. I guess there's a potential that the landing gear, like the skis on the plane,
will freeze,
and almost instantly all of your fuel lines and things will freeze, and then the plane's shot.
So,
which is amazing because fuel doesn't freeze until like minus 50 or something like that. Like it's insane, and I don't even know that's normal fuel. I don't know about airplane fuel.
Well, yeah, because they're in much colder temperatures. Huh. This is wild. Okay, all right. So they got permission from Moscow, I guess, to do the surgery.
They got permission. Yeah, so it had taken them 36 days on boat to get there. And so, and the plane home wasn't scheduled for another year.
Dang.
Yeah, so they really were on their own. So they had no choice but to cut out his appendix without any general anesthesia or a surgical suite or almost anything that a hospital would have to perform a surgery.
Like at least a scalpel?
I'm sure there was a scalpel.
Are we using like spoons here?
No, it wasn't like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Perfect.
So can you imagine what it'd be like to be the patient?
No, I'm just cringing for him. It hurts my...
I mean, you have no choice. You're backed into a corner of...
heart just hearing this.
You let the doctor go in and do their best, who hasn't done a lot
at least,
of them.
Okay, here's where the ice comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you know the people that want to kind of pierce themselves? They use the ice cube. They get your ear super, super, super cold so you can go through the ear easier and it doesn't hurt as bad. I mean, at least he could get really, really cold for when he's cutting him. It's like, you know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Can you imagine being the doctor?
Oof. I mean, he's done it like a handful of times, if that.
But trying to do it on a patient who you don't have.
Well, it's not numb and you don't have half the stuff.
So this is nowhere near the same thing. I had a patient last week that I was telling you about that I do a root canal on. And this is my third attempt to do this root canal because the guy just wouldn't get numb.
Right.
And every once in a while, you just have these patients that I had tried all day one day. It didn't work. Brought him back. I had someone else trying to get him numb the second time. I tried to get him, couldn't get him numb. Came back. Third time, I could finally get him. I did a different injections just to kind of get him to the point where I could start working to actually get into the nerve of the tooth and directly inject. And he wasn't very comfortable, but we could at least get there. But it makes you so nervous as a practitioner working on a patient who, is feeling, stuff.
Yeah, you'd have to mentally psych yourself up for sure and just feel like, I'm this guy's best hope at this point.
Right.
So you'd have to.
So Leonid had one other major problem we haven't talked about yet, though. Can you guess what it was?
He's anemic.
Leonid was the doctor.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You failed to mention that on purpose.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So
wait, he has to perform this surgery on himself?
He's going to cut out his own appendix in Antarctica. This is why we have to do the video, because your face is so good.
No. This is terrible. This is literally like the worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah. But he knows perfectly well what happens if he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. He sure does. Oh, how do you not? Okay, so how do you not pass out?
Well, we're going to go through the surgery here in a little bit.
My dad, it's so interesting. He is so he's a firefighter, obviously seen plenty of
mangled carnage.
Yes. In all capacities. He was on the dive rescue team, many car accidents, all sorts of stuff. The stories he told me growing up, I still can vividly remember certain things. Okay, this guy can see all that, but he hits his finger, building our house or whatever, and it's like the nail gun, and he kind of nicked his finger, and he was bleeding and stuff. Literally passes out because of his own blood. I look at it, I'm like, it's not even that bad, but it's his own blood. It's like this psychological thing.
Yeah, there's definitely people that.
How does this doctor not pass out on himself by doing his surgery himself? This is a very bad combination.
So when we've talked about things, blood in general doesn't bother me. I do minor surgeries quite regularly. I've worked professionally chopping up bodies.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I got a little, not squeamish, nauseated, but a little, it's ugh, I don't like the story.
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel like you're going to pass out a little bit, get kind of grossed out and ugh. I don't even know if I want to listen to the rest of it. It's too much.
That's it, everybody. That's just tapping out. There's pictures too.
No.
I mean, there really are.
I believe you. I don't want to see him. I'm going to deep breath.
So the night before the surgery, he wrote this in his journal. You ready?
Yeah.
I did not sleep at all last night. It hurts like the devil. A snowstorm whipping through my soul, wailing like 100 jackals. Still no obvious symptoms that perforation is imminent, but an oppressive feeling of foreboding hangs over me. This is it. I have to think through the only possible way out, to operate on myself. It's almost impossible, but I can't just fold my arms and give up.
It's kind of probably a bad idea to not sleep before you perform a surgery.
Well, I think he wanted to sleep. I think he couldn't sleep because of the pain.
Right. This is a terrible situation.
Yeah. And so before he started, he had to very carefully plan out the entire operation.
Of course he did.
His biggest concern was that he knew he needed to move his own small intestines out of the way to access the large intestine, which sits behind them, because that's where your appendix is located.
So I'm really, really hoping that there's another one in this team of 13 that is I'll be your assistant.
There were 2 that he assigned to be his assistant. Okay. The truck driver and the meteorologist.
Very qualified. Yeah. Very qualified. I feel very good about this.
These were the guys that he chose to...
I mean, obviously, for certain reasons, he probably chose them.
I'm sure that he trusted them by far the most.
Because this is legit, man.
Yeah.
And then if you put your intestines back in wrong and they get all kinked and...
Yeah. We have a friend who had it twisted
literally almost killed him
He
again.
had to go back in for emergency surgery.
It's terrible. Okay. This is grossing me out.
Yeah. So he really honestly did not know if this was physically possible.
Well, obviously. I mean, whoever is asked to perform surgery on themselves. Like, not very many people.
Not very many people. Surprisingly, he is not the first person to take out their own appendix.
What? Wow.
There was an American doctor who did it
To himself.
but in better conditions.
And
under better anesthesia.
why? Why did he do this to himself?
The other guy?
Yeah, like what was the circumstance?
It's when they used ether to as a form of air quotes general anesthesia.
Right.
But there were quite a few patients who couldn't do ether. And so
It was like a trial run or something?
yeah, he had a lot of success. Well, he had chopped off the tip of his own finger and had used local anesthetics prior. I don't remember what exactly because I didn't go that deep into that story.
That's okay. I was just...
But he had really good success. So he's like, well, I think I can do other surgeries for patients who can't use ether using other modes of anesthetic that aren't general.
Okay.
And so he did, and he took out his own appendix.
Wow. Just wow.
He actually ended up operating on himself 3 different times in his life. He also fixed his own inguinal hernia.
Well, I think... Wow.
Yeah. But again, all actually in hospitals and things.
Just the bomb.com.
Just because you're like, why not? I'm that good at surgery.
I guess. I still don't know why you wouldn't choose someone else.
Maybe he didn't trust anybody.
Okay. Well, maybe
But
not.
anyways, Leonid here, he trusted himself more than his coworkers.
Oh my goodness.
And so he laid himself on a bed and he laid all of his instruments on a table next to him. And it did look in the pictures like he had some surgical
Equipment.
equipment and like gowns
It's kind of
and
funny because
blankets.
it's like you have this assistant, like as if, whatever you would have, PA, whatever you have. And you're like, okay, hand me this one. And they're like, which one? Because
Yeah.
they have no idea what's happening.
Well, I'm sure he ran through with them.
He had to. Gave them like layman's terms.
Right. And probably laid them in order that he thought he would need them.
Right. Probably. But
So one of them, their job, this is the truck driver and the meteorologist, was to hold the lamp so he'd have good
lighting.
And the other one was to hand him instruments as he needed
And
them.
ice. Duh. We need
And
ice.
ice.
Yeah.
The problem is ice probably isn't sterile.
Yeah.
You don't want to be putting bacteria
No, you don't. Okay.
inside of your
Say no to the
intestines
ice.
as they're laying on your legs.
Say no to the ice.
So he did train them how to administer adrenaline and perform some artificial ventilation for him in case he passed out.
Ventilation?
Mm-hmm. Like chest compressions.
Oh.
Or CPR essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
To, keep him alive. Until
For
he
some
came
reason,
back.
I was thinking at the surgical site. I was just couldn't
yeah.
figure out. I was like, suction? Yeah. Anyway, I was not in the right space. I get it.
And he assigned a third coworker to hold a mirror.
Oh my gosh, he's literally
so
doing
that he
this
could- Well, that was his plan, was to do it on himself backwards. But you know how hard that is
I
to
do.
learn that skill.
Yes, takes a lot of time.
So Anthony's a hygienist. I mean, we work backwards all the time.
All the time.
I remember when you were
With a
in
mirror.
school
Oh,
having
yeah.
like these stupid, I don't know, you had like write numbers and stuff using a mirror with like a little wall or
Yep.
partition.
Yeah, they spent hours with us trying to make sure you're only looking in the mirror. Because if you try to get direct vision, your ergonomics are just terrible and you get kinks in your necks and you can't work, So, yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. So that was his plan, was to
And he'd probably never done that before.
Never
'cause
done
that's
that.
not normal. Yeah.
to work backwards,
Oh,
which
I
is
guess
always fun.
that didn't work
right
very
is
long.
left is right.
Yeah.
Up is down is up.
Oh gosh, you don't want to cut the wrong place.
And
Oh dear.
and so anyways, he goes in for surgery. So what he gave himself local anesthetic
Well, at
With
least
the
they had
needle.
that.
using Novocaine, which is not what we use in dentistry anymore, just so everyone knows.
Yeah. No
Every patient
Novocaine.
in the world tells me, like, oh, you use a Novocaine? We haven't used Novocaine since I was alive.
We haven't used Novocaine since I've been in the profession, or you, and even since before you were alive.
I don't think it's ever. Yeah, I think it's been decades.
Years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We use lidocaine
As our main one.
as your main one, as will your emergency room if you go in there and need stitches or.
I mean, there's certain ones on extremities and stuff you can't.
You just can't use epinephrine.
Well,
But they'll still use Lido.
They still will. Okay. They don't use the same stuff we do. How about that?
Yeah. Depending on where it's at.
Right. If it's extremities, like fingers and stuff.
But, so he does get himself numb, and he gives himself about a 12 centimeter incision. Now, I can't imagine cutting yourself open with a scalpel and watching yourself, and then reaching in and removing your intestines. It's like Braveheart, but to yourself.
This is terrible. The whole thing is so terrible.
But but once he started, he couldn't give himself anything else. And he might have been able to use some more local here and there, but he couldn't sedate himself at all because he needed to be mentally focused. And obviously couldn't take alcohol, or you couldn't drink vodka.
Right.
Because he was the one doing the surgery. Mm-hmm. And that's frowned upon.
But I'm sure he could use an excessive amount of Lido. Or
Novocaine.
Yeah. Novocaine.
So he really says that once he got going, he didn't really feel much. Like he kind of got into emergency surgery mode and just was so focused.
I think it's almost like a woman who chooses to deliver a baby.
That's probably true. You have so many...
Like without any, all natural. Mm-hmm. It's such a head mental game because the pain is just so much. But it's like... I
wonder if he did some Lamaze classes.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think you have to get into this mindset, and once you're in it, you can't get out of it. It's like running a marathon. You got to push past through the wall. It's like such a mental game. It had to be the same thing. Like once you're cut, you're like, that's it. We're on the clock here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay mentally fortified here.
So he finds out very quickly that the mirror's out, and so he decides it would be better to just do it all by feel, and so. It said he didn't use any gloves, but I don't know how many surgeons used gloves back in the 50s and 60s anyways.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that big of...
But he specifically says he didn't use gloves for increased dexterity.
That makes sense.
So you could feel around all of your organs and parts to know where you were.
I literally can't imagine this. I just can't. Okay.
There was a lot of heavy bleeding, and so he had a hard time seeing.
That's what I was thinking when you were saying ventilation, you were meaning like suction.
Right. But no suction, which is very important. And I mean, I find that having blood out of the way helps a lot.
Speaking from personal experience.
Someone's jaw up. Yeah, it's nice to see. But hey, you do what you got to do. At one point, he did accidentally cut his cecum, which is the little section of the large intestine right next to the appendix. And so he did have to stop, suture that back closed. Before he could keep working. But he was growing weaker and weaker as the surgery went on.
When the blood is...
And so he'd have to rest for like 30 seconds every few minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And kind of regain his mental fortitude. But he continued. And he wrote this as well. I'm going to read this. Finally, here it is. The cursed appendage. With horror, I noticed the dark stain at its base. That means just a day or longer and it would have burst.
Yeah.
My heart seized up and noticeably slowed. My hands felt like rubber. Well, I thought, it's going to end badly, and all that was left was removing the appendix. So he gets to it. Doesn't look good. I can't imagine like pulling it out of yourself, because it's like a little it's like an appendage.
Yeah.
It's like a little finger off, your large intestine.
Right.
And he sees there's this, abscess or whatever. Maybe that's not the right word, but this dark stain, right? But he does remove it.
So when you're removing it, do you stitch off where you cut it from, where it's attached to?
I don't know.
Or does it just...
I mean, nowadays maybe they just like cauterize it or something.
Sure. Nowadays. But in that situation...
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay, wow.
And he didn't give us many details about that, but he does get it out. He puts everything back.
Oh, gosh.
He sutures himself closed.
Okay.
In total, it took about 2 hours.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. He kind of told everyone to clean up the room. And once everything was cleaned up, he was still laying there, obviously. But at that point, he took some antibiotics and some sleeping pills. And
he went to sleep.
And within 2 weeks, he was back doing his normal duties.
So he stitched himself up, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And those stitches wouldn't bother me. I mean, not bother me. They wouldn't concern me.
The sutures on the outside?
Right. But my sutured cecum would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Because if anything goes wrong there...
You're going to go septic too.
Yeah, and you can't get back to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could get back to it, but...
More than anything, I'm thinking he would triple check that, triple stitch it, quadruple stitch it. But even then, do those stitches... Are they biodegradable? Or are they
I don't know if they're like a gut style suture or what.
You can just... Anyway.
I don't know what they had back then. My preferred stitches do not disintegrate.
Right.
But
the ones in my eye didn't want to disintegrate.
No.
But they were supposed to, apparently.
Well, they're much more comfy than non-disintegratable ones. They're much easier to work with, too.
The silk ones?
They're not... I don't even use silk, but yeah. They're synthetic, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So he's got it all back and he's doing pretty good. And, he survives.
That's crazy. That's impressive
crazy.
And amazing.
He did talk about before his 2 assistants were
getting queasy,
whiter than their white jackets.
Oh, I bet.
They were so...
that's
which I'm
honestly
sure
what I thought was going to happen is they would actually pass out.
Wow.
Like your assistants,
sense.
Because I think sometimes you don't even realize how queasy blood makes you. And then you're like all of a sudden just down for the count. I mean, you didn't even realize how grossed out you are. It's happened with observations for dentistry quite a bit, actually.
I've never had a patient pass out on me, but I have had patients, other people in the room.
Yeah.
Like parents.
Yeah.
Or
that's kind of what I was saying. Like people that are coming in to students that are observing. They're like, whoa. And then they're gone.
Yeah. I had a surgery done once that was same day. I was on like Valium, but I was awake for it. And there was a student in there and he was struggling a lot more than I was. Like he could not actually watch. Like he kept like turning his head. He was sweating. You could tell he wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you better go into a non-surgical
branch
of medicine, buddy.
Oh man. That just reminds me of when you're at university hospitals or wherever, where there's tons and tons of students coming through and you're like, at that point, your whole body's just like, whatever.
That's true.
You don't even really get the option to say yes or no. I mean, technically, if you made a big stink about it, but you just know if you're going to be delivering there, that there's always going to be
a bunch of extra
people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of a running joke when we lived in Cleveland not to go to any of the hospitals like July and August because everyone was a new resident. And so it was like, this is the first time they've done all these things. Yeah. And so it was like, oh, you might want to wait until the springtime when they've had more experience.
But emergencies just happen when they happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of a funny joke. Anyway.
But a very true thing as well.
Oh, for sure. You got to learn some point. So this man lived.
Yeah, he lives. After all of that, the weather was particularly bad.
Oh, wow.
And so the ice was so thick that their scheduled boat could never come in and get them. And so,
wait, the one for a year later? Or wait, what?
Right. So there was a boat that could have come and got them.
Oh, sooner.
Right. But then it got postponed because
the ice was too thick. Okay.
And so it got postponed for a year.
It's quite the postponing.
Yeah.
It's not like a month or two.
No. Or like, okay, we'll try again next week.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll try next year, guys. And that actually really, 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 really depressed him. Like,
oh, I bet
he was ready to get the heck off of Antarctica.
Yeah.
But luckily, they did change some things around, and they were able to get them with some little single-engine planes. But then those almost crashed, leaving Antarctica because of the storms.
The weather.
But he did get home. He was given a medal for being cool.
For performing his own surgery on himself?
He married, had kids. He was the head of surgery at a institute in St. Petersburg for like 15 years.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. He passed away from cancer in 2000.
Was it cecum cancer?
Lung cancer. He probably was a smoker.
Yeah, back then a lot of
Everyone
people
was a
didn't.
smoker,
Yeah,
right?
they didn't know the consequences of smoking.
And I think in Europe, there's still a lot of countries that everyone's a smoker.
Definitely in Japan. I know there's a lot more smoking than like there is here. The funny thing is, they're aware. I just don't know.
But, I feel like when we were there, and I could be totally wrong, I don't feel like you see it though.
I mean, you see the vending machines
Right.
with the cigarettes in them.
But it's not like you see cigarette butts everywhere.
No,
and
they're very
people
respectful.
smoking out.
They're very respectful about disposing of them, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's definitely much more common.
So you don't want to see a picture?
I honestly don't.
Okay, well, if you want to see a picture, I'll try to remember to post it on the Facebook group. But
I wanna see.
now Anthony wants to see. So there's him operating on himself.
Oh my gosh, he even has a mask on?
Yeah, he's a doctor.
What is that?
Is
that his intestine?
I think that's probably an intestine, but I'm not sure.
That's too much. It's too much.
So, anyways, I'll try to post it now.
It's in black and white, so it's actually not as bad as if it was in color. So, yeah.
But you can Google it. I mean, Google doctor who took out his own appendix in Antarctica. I mean, that's easier than Googling his name because it's Russian. And you'll find the pictures.
Man.
And you can look at them yourself.
It's very impressive. I guess
It is.
life and death situations, it's worth a try.
Yeah, there's actually a town of about 150 people on one of the islands, I believe, off of Antarctica. And it's a permanent year-round research station city. Like it's kind of like half base, half city. Like they have schools, they have families. There's
Interesting.
like 150 people that live there. But because of this story, you have to have your appendix out before you're allowed to go live there.
Because of this story.
Mhm.
Wow. He really did make some history, huh?
Yeah, because they don't want people stranded.
Right.
There was another lady, an American doctor who was also stationed in Antarctica in 1998.
Uh-huh.
And this isn't our story, so I didn't go nearly as in depth on this one. But same kind of thing. Middle of winter, minus 60, super cold, can't go anywhere. And she finds a lump on her breast. And so she decides to self-biopsy. And the stuff that they have at the base wasn't good enough to tell. Like it was too old or something. But they can't get anyone to land and get her out of there. She's fairly certain that's what it is. So they go out on the ice and they light these big bonfires to create like a landing or a drop zone. And they do bring a plane in and drop a correct biopsy kit and hormone therapy and chemotherapy meds. And she literally self-administers chemotherapy in Antarctica until she can get out the next year.
So the drop is safe?
I guess so. I think the real issue is landing
And then
and
taking
physically
off.
touching that ice.
And then taking off again,
Right.
too.
Because once you land, you run the risk of the plane getting stuck. And in the time it takes you to get it unstuck, so many of the components get ruined.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
So was she cancer positive?
She was. She got home and was able to go through other things and went into remission. But yeah, she actually self-treated with chemotherapy
Wow.
in Antarctica.
It's crazy. So now to go to Antarctica, you have to literally have full body head to toe.
Yeah.
Get your eyes dilated so they can see the back. Make sure there's no torn retinas.
Didn't have turn retinas.
Make sure
before you
there's
get
no
there.
breast cancer. Make sure your appendix is already out prophylactically. Check for hernias. Check for what else? Everything. The cough
Everything.
test.
All the things.
What's the cough test for boys?
That's a hernia.
No, I thought it was like prostate cancer. Or something.
No. Prostate's a finger up somewhere.
Okay.
Different check.
Okay. Well, all the checks. If you're going to go to Antarctica, you have to have all the checks.
All the checks.
And I do not want to go to Antarctica.
You're like, I'm good now.
I'm good.
Penguins aren't that cool. Now
no,
we're seeing.
I'll go to the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to the zoo. So
I love zoos. I know some people don't like zoos. I love zoos.
it's a catch for me. I'm a catch 22 here. Like I get that if they are indeed rescued and if they are indeed rehabilitating the population, I feel better about it. If for some reason they're there just for our enjoyment, it makes it a little harder for me. I'd rather them have just stayed out in the wild, you know?
Yeah, I just really enjoy them. So
you don't think about all that kind of stuff. You just enjoy seeing the animals. And I just am kind of 50-50. Like, I hope they're really here for being rescued.
well, I mean, I'm a biology guy.
Right.
I really enjoy.
It's fun to see animals you wouldn't normally see. I get all that. I do love that. I just always think.
But most of them are there for a reason.
I know. But then once you're
Nowadays.
born in captivity,
Right.
then you're kind of stuck in captivity. And that's kind of, again, if you're an endangered species and it's good that you're born in captivity to kind of eventually get back out there, that's great. But if it's just,
I don't know. I don't look at it much different than all the people who have cats and don't let them outside. It's like your cat is a wild animal that wants to go outside and kill things. And you keep it in its house and you're thinking you're doing it a favor. You're
Well-
not doing it a favor. You are ruining its natural desires.
sure, I'm on the same page with you
Let your
there.
cat outside to kill.
But then they kill the birdies.
Or they do kill the birdies.
I know I can't. I don't want
That's
them
what
to.
they want to do. You know what they need to do is kill that stupid woodpecker.
Yeah, well,
in
they
our
got to get up.
fireplace.
They got to get up the roof first.
We'll take the cats onto the roof.
Okay, well, they can get
I
up
take it
there.
up on the roof all the time.
It's actually in the
I
pipe.
know.
They can't get up that pipe. It's metal. You're going to have to get up that pipe.
I'm not a cat.
I know. We have a woodpecker, you guys, in our pipe of our potbelly stove. And so when it wants to peck, it rattles all the way down into our potbelly stove. And I was freaking out like, jackhammer? What the heck is happening? Because
She was like, it's going to blow up. There's
well, I was
something
like,
wrong with
I
it.
took a video.
And I went and listened one morning and I was like, that sounds like it's... I didn't think it was a woodpecker at first.
But the woodpecker that's at our neighbors is still at our neighbors.
Oh.
It's always there.
Different
It's not like
woodpecker.
this. It's a different woodpecker. I think it's the baby of that one. They're like,
Which
oh,
one
I'm
of
going to
our
move next door.
kids called them peckerbirds?
Peckerbird? Oh, Lincoln.
Yeah. It was little?
Yeah.
Call them peckerbirds.
And remember the one time he was building the play set with my dad?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wasn't there.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
was at home.
My
remodeling
dad-
the garage.
My dad was dying. He was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
If I had like a storybook of all the things that he ever said when he was little, oh, man.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Alrighty. Well, that's it for this episode,
All right.
this week.
Sounds good.
Everybody, enjoy March Madness. Actually, by the time you listen to this, weekend one will be over. So I hope you enjoyed the greatest weekend of the year.
If
for
you're
me.
into basketball.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful
Okay,
week. We will see
see you
you
later.
next week. Bye.